We don't have to do anything else. Say hi to everyone. I do want to informally let Dr. Milishnik introduce himself because you're gonna do it bigger next week. Just want to say hi or anything?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good to be here. Good to be here finally.
I'm sorry.
I think I know every face in here, so, but yeah, it's good to be here finally. Thank you for having me. Sorry I couldn't get here sooner. So it's been an eventful 3 days, getting into buildings, meeting with admin team periodically, one by one. We'll meet as a whole come Monday, but I want to kind of fill things out all week too. So that's good. Morning as well. Started the week with nothing on my calendar and it seems like it's been.
Oh, yeah,
sure. I didn't even get to my.
Audio issue.
Thank you, everybody. Looking forward to it.
Glad you're here. Yep.
Welcome.
Great. Okay, he hasn't done a committee meeting like this before, and ours are still kind of in infancy, how we're doing them. I need to turn off my theater voice.
You're all right.
No, because I don't need a microphone, but at any rate, presentations, we have none. Policy committee is myself as the chair, Donnie Griffin, who's not here, and Caroline, who is here. But I will ask all of the board members to do this. Please go on, you're looking at your board docs right now, aren't you? I want you to slide the mouse up to above, right next to where it says Board of Education. You might have to scroll up. See that little person?
Yeah,
Where you on the policy?
upper right.
On the upper right, where it says, you have to scroll up where it says policy.
Yeah, I'm on policy.
Yes, way up there.
Yes.
Yes, and you need to be logged in to Board Docs as you. And if you are logged into Board Docs as you can then go to policies and you should see active, draft, retired. When you go down, after you've got yourself logged in and that little person, do you see active, draft, retired?
I don't see the little person.
Okay.
I'm not looking in the right space.
No, you see it? I'm dead. Okay, here we go.
Oh, here it is. Yep, got it.
Up to the little person.
Thank you.
You're logged in.
Oh,
Person, that little person there, you're, okay, now, go back down to policy here. Now go right there.
I was just thinking of some fun nights in college.
Yes.
Did you see the little
Oh,
person?
okay.
Did you see the little person? Yeah, everybody see it.
Yeah.
No, I'm the only one. Okay, that's clearly water.
Once you have logged in as a little person, you want to go back down to where it says policy. Policies, right there, and then you should see, because the general public cannot see this, right there, I keep thinking this is touchscreen, aha. Active,
right,
draft, retired, do you see that?
yes.
Okay, I have had a discussion with our lady at the PSBA who's working on our revising our policies. And what she has done thus far, and I'm pleased that she got it further, she has only done 000s, local board procedures, the 100s and 900 community. And there's a reason for that, because the policy that we have for public speaking needs to be moved down to community. But if you go to, if you open up local board procedures, and you'll see them all there, what you see is what they recommend to change or retire. And even at the bottom, there's a cross reference to show what was the old one and what is the new one. It takes a bit of reading, and so that's why I am proposing, especially with our new superintendent, that we all take this month to look it over and see what they're proposing. Most of it's changing, adding Allegheny intermediate unit instead of just intermediate unit. You want to show her how to get where we're going?
Oh.
Okay, but there are some things we'll have to vote on, and if you see anything that has a list of things with squiggly brackets, we'll have to choose which one we want. And therefore, that will be something that the policy committee will meet and make a recommendation to the board. So that's where policy stands right now. We're working on making sure our policies are all up to date. Some of them are pretty old. So that's where policy is. Are there any questions?
Yeah.
Mr. Michael?
When we, under policy, can click on draft and then local board procedures, that will show us what's being revised?
Yeah, policies draft is what they're suggesting. If you're really good at it. Well, first of all, if you go down to cross-reference, they'll show you the things that they are proposing. There's a little graph chart at cross-reference.
Where's that at?
Yeah,
At the bottom of
At the
last-
very bottom, after 011,
Oh, okay.
it says
Okay.
cross-reference, and they talk about why they've changed things. Some of them are mandated by law, some are, will keep us from having legal
That's good.
liability, some are recommended by the PSBA. For example, last month I introduced the new principles for governance and leadership, and they are leaner and tighter. And we do follow the principles for governance and leadership, so take some time to look it over. If you're really good, you can open up two pages and look at them side by side, but just to look them up, I'm really good.
No.
So take some time to look it over. You'll be, and they recommend us to retire something. For example, we need to move our public speaking to later on in the meeting. And you can see what they recommend and they give us drafts. Okay, so that's where policy is right now. Any questions besides, Mike, your question get answered?
Yes, thank you.
Okey dokey.
So, since I'm on
Yes.
policy committee, my question to you is, we've had several issues that we've had to reference to policies. Should we be looking at those policies first? So that if there's something that we need to implement, or should we go in order? Like, I sent to you all 404, remember?
We stick with 404 that we have right now.
What we have now, so, okay,
It's because that's why the public can't see this, only
okay,
us.
okay.
Because it still has to go through an admin.
So we had even reference to PSB, the PA.
PSBA.
Oh, I always
I
get
know.
tongue tied with that, I don't know why, but anyhow, we did reference to that when we were talking about some situations as far as like requesting bills. Is that something that we would implement now, or we have to wait until they review it to come back, because that was what was in their booklet now?
We could, that's possible to introduce that to be implemented at our next policy committee
Okay.
discussions.
Okay, all right, I just,
Yeah, I know what you're
Make sure.
talking about. too.
yeah, I just want to make
Yeah.
sure that we're.
Here we go.
Oh, good, yes.
He's looking like,
Just
"Who's
a-
that for?" You.
Yes, this is just a little welcome gift that we have for you. Just want to say, welcome.
There you go.
Thank you.
Whoever's got balloons in the wind is not a twin. 6 months from now.
Yes. Yes.
And I do expect to see
This
that.
is,
plant.
this is our first time
Yes.
meeting with you, yeah.
I
Good thing you
will-
give it to me.
I
Thank
will-
you. Sorry, thank you.
And here I thought they were for me because I became a great grandmother.
Oh,
No, that's even.
The first great grandchild.
Yep, yep.
It's a girl. Her name is
Two colors
Nia.
I haven't had.
I know.
Ray Armstrong.
The red, you said red and blue,
My
right?
grandson's in the
Colors are
Navy.
Red and
He's
blue.
in upstate New York.
Wilkesburg and Virginia.
They're both in red and blue.
Happy to have babies, right?
I
But I
know.
see how you.
Summer said we were your colors, Claire.
Oh, that's so cool. And then today's blue for autism awareness.
Yeah.
It is today,
So
so,
he has to work out this turquoise, black and white.
yes.
Pretty soon, everything.
They are my best colors.
I know. Of course.
No, they really are. I do like red, white.
I shouldn't. The football team will blow your mind because you see them on that field in those uniforms. It's awesome.
Yeah, no, I still have a problem with that. I mean, take those in.
Yeah. I'm a Wilkesburg Tiger too.
Well, rough, you know.
We're doing it in one that doesn't even exist.
Okay, so there we go. That's. Yes, to answer Karen's question, yes, we can change it. They're not mandating this. They're
Right.
telling us we vote on any of these.
Okay,
What will
I mean,
happen is.
It's good to get it's good to get the zeros out of the way, how we have it, this, because when she was explaining to me, I was surprised to see only
Yes.
certain ones
Yeah.
in there. But as certain important ones arrive.
right,
like
that's
seriously
my
arrive,
point, because what I'm finding, what we have gone through over the past few months is that we're
So if you don't miss
we're
it,
just
we-
picking and choosing some things,
Yeah.
and we need to solidify exactly what we should be following, so that we're not in a position where we're digging ourselves out of holes because we're not following something.
Yep.
And I just want, to be very specific about the policies that will make us run smoothly without having to backdate or go back and.
We did this, when I worked at Uniontown, we did this same procedure, we paid PSBA to do, and they would do it in order, but when something came up. The board secretary would email them and say, okay, this one came up, they want to push this to the front of the line, and they would send it.
But it still has to be board approved.
Yes,
right? You still have to vote on it.
Yes,
That's, I mean, I think that's the most important part, the
Yes.
voting. Yes,
And
We have 3 readings.
yeah,
That was my
Yes,
next
yes,
question. So is it
yes, three
first,
readings,
second,
yes.
First, is your second your final reading, or is it first, second, third,
Third.
final?
Third is
Third.
final reading and vote.
That's actually in
The current policy.
in the current policy. And remember,
Yeah,
we're not cherry picking for ourselves right now. This is for the future policy. This is when we're all off and doing something else. The next board knows the rules are the same. We
Yeah.
don't cherry pick the rules.
yes.
That's what we're assuring that happens.
That is my input on policy, because I just. That's a bone of contention with me.
Yeah, like even some
And it-
policies change with the new administration at the
Yes.
federal level, so.
Yeah.
You know, with Title IX and things like that,
Yes,
so we gotta make those adjustments right away.
okay. Okay.
So, the next is curriculum and that Eddie, it's Dr. Wilson, yay.
Yay, it's me. Well, good evening, everybody. I get lots of good fun things to show you tonight. Not a whole lot to decide on, or that I hope is very contentious, but lots of cool things to show you. Before we get to the 2 items that I put on the agenda, I want to name that next week at agenda setting, you'll see, and Friday when they go live, you'll see a tab to accept more than $20,000 from US Steel for book vending machines at every elementary school. I am beyond excited about book vending machines, so those of you that have been in schools before, you know that many schools do school stores or PBIS, and they do pause bucks, or they do whatever, and most of the time, the reward for those things is a piece of plastic or a piece of unhealthy food. And the vending machines will allow us to then give tokens to students for whatever guidelines we set, whatever guidelines we choose, that then they can use those tokens in the book vending machines and purchase books of their own that they can take home. It's not a check out, check back in situation. It is, you get to take that book home. So our initiative around continuing to furnish our scholars with personal libraries continues and is expanding through this amazing grant. So last year, you'll remember, and this year we talked about it already, we have a partnership with US Steel and the Pittsburgh Penguins for their Reading Champions program in the 3rd grade. All of our 3rd graders it used to be the Pizza Hut Reading Challenge, but now it's the Pittsburgh Penguins US Steel Reading Champions. And so all of our 3rd graders receive tickets to Penguins games. The winning classroom, which was, I believe, Miss Catone's room at Wilkins, got a visit from Iceberg the Penguin. They all get the opportunity to get more books. And so US Steel asked us what we would like, what else could help us to improve and increase the level of reading. And we named these vending machines. So we're excited to get those. I did think they were just gonna purchase them and deliver them. So when they said, hey, we're gonna send you a check, and then I realized, all right, well, now we gotta go do board approval to get the check and then board approval to purchase the machines. I was a little bit frustrated with the tedium, but I also am not gonna look $20,000 in the mouth. And so I'm very happy to have that be something that you'll see next week.
So does that mean you're going to have to look for different vendors to do this, or are they making recommendations on?
They're making recommendations, and because each machine is less than $10,000, we don't have to go out and do a bidding process or an RFP or even get quotes. If it's less than $10,000, we get to choose. So they're just sending us the whole check for all 3, but each machine is less than 10, so we can just go out and choose. And they priced it based on the vending machine that they offered to purchase.
So did we have to buy the books to put in the vending
We
machine?
do have to buy the books to put in the vending machine. I'm gonna build that into my curriculum budget, yes, ma'am.
Does
Yeah,
that
we're only-
correlate with the book fair? Like, does that overlap? Like, Will that interrupt the book
They
fair?
won't interrupt the book fair at all. It'll be two separate things. It'll be two separate ways that scholars can take home books.
Can't possibly have too many books.
No,
Amen.
never. Never.
University of Nevada, big study, you gotta have at least 500 at home. Sorry, when I started having children, I started doing research on the value of a personal library. I think you talked about this before, but I'm gonna say it again. When my daughter was born, the year before my daughter was born, so 2009, a major study came out of the University of Nevada that showed that homes that had 500 or more books in them when students were growing up were a better predictor of college entry and retention than parents' education level. So you could have two parents with PhDs who don't have books in the home, a child that has two high school graduates as parents, but 500 books is more likely to go to college. So we're just trying to get books in homes.
Great.
The other item that you may see, depending on the amount of the proposal, that I get and the quote is, we're looking to hire, a cultural sensitivity coach to come and work with the musical staff and cast. They're doing, as you know, the show Hairspray, and Hairspray has some sensitive topics around, race as well as around body image. And our staff is amazing and wonderful and has great conversations with our scholars and families. And at the same time, we want to make sure that, that we're having those conversations in a productive way that is not offensive or impacting anybody negatively or making anybody feel awkward. And so we're gonna bring in, actually, the gentleman that's doing the True Colors training with principals over the summer, Pastor Eric Yule. He's gonna come in and work with the students and the staff to talk about some of the heavy subjects that are in the show, and ways that they are still prevalent in the world, and ways in which we can talk about them and talk about them appropriately in our lives.
So for that, are we going to send something home to the parents and let them know that we are having this discussion so they're not caught off guard or think that we are trying to impose any kinds of political agenda topics, DEI. We're not doing anything like that. We're gonna send something home to prepare them to say, this is what we're doing, and it is not DEI, it's not critical race theory, it's none of those things.
Right.
It's something completely different, because we know how that can get skewed.
I do. We can definitely do that for
But
sure.
you're bringing these people in for the staff, right? Not for the students.
Both. I want
Staff
to have
first.
the conversations with both. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yes, we'll send something. I hadn't thought about that. That's a great
Yeah,
idea.
just, as we know, the culture is changing in the world, just want to make sure parents know that we're being just proactive and
Yes,
engaging. and not
Push it an agenda.
Correct.
That's right. I will name,
Yep.
we're doing Hairspray. We also had a DEI conference, like, we kind of take a side. But at the same time, we will send something home and we will make sure that our families know that conversation is happening.
Did you want to say anything? Oh, sorry. I can't see around the balloons. Hi, Mike.
I just want to ask, do we know when Dr. Mule's coming? What day?
I don't know yet, no, sir. No, sir, but I'd be happy to let you know, so. So then my actual agenda items, again, should be short and sweet. 3.1 is just a discussion around the comprehensive planning process. So we did not blast something out. We will blast something out before the end of this week. We did put on the website, and a pop-up on the website that our first meeting for the comprehensive plan will be next Tuesday, April 8th. I spoke with y'all about this in November and then again in January and February. We were supposed to have a comprehensive plan. It's a 3-year plan. It was supposed to be due in November. The last one we did was 2022, and that was late. So we're supposed to have one due in November, and we wrote to the state and said, hey, our superintendent is leaving and we're getting a new superintendent. Can we have an extension? They gave us the extension of September 1. So we'll have a comprehensive plan that's due September 1, which will mean y'all will need to see it and approve it by August. And we'll have several meetings with stakeholders And I'll show you what that process looks like if I can share my screen, which means I can't, but Mr. Roth is gonna help me. He's gonna help me. Look at that, he's helping me out. Thank you, sir. So, you'll see that the process for, comprehensive planning is what's on your screen right now. We've gone through this, I've gone through this and led this process for the district once before. On Tuesday, we will not specifically go into e-grants and fill out this information. But this is the information that we will eventually fill out. So I want to show you, we'll name all of the steering committee. This is the steering committee from the last time we did it. We'll do a full profile, we'll do our mission and vision. We'll do future ready PA index, our performance. We'll name all of the data points that we have. And then we'll go to our actual plan. We'll analyze strengths and challenges, set some goals, and create an action plan with PD. Within the comprehensive planning process, we have 5 additional reports that have to go to the state. So we'll go through all of those together in these meetings. But next week's meeting will not have anything to do with e-grants and this tedious process. It will simply be a SWOT analysis. We'll talk about our strengths, we'll talk about our weaknesses, we'll talk about our goals for the next 1, 2, and 3 years and what we want to be true. And then based on that information, I'll begin to build the foundations of the plan. We'll set another meeting next month in May. We'll do this again until we feel like we have a solid comprehensive plan that has been built by stakeholders from all regions, all facets, so teachers, parents, board members, and executive team, central office, and community members. So we want to make sure that we're clear and that we're transparent on all that we do there, and that process begins next Tuesday. Questions on it? Yes, sir.
Eddie, could you sum up for everybody in a sentence the point of the comprehensive plan?
In one sentence, the point of the comprehensive plan: to give us a roadmap to ensure success of our scholars. It wasn't a full sentence, sorry about that, there was no subject. The purpose of the comprehensive plan.
It was a phrase, but-
The district roadmap. I could hear it when I said it, and I was like, oh man, you're starting the sentence after the subject. It's our thrill, the English teachers will get on you. No, the purpose is to give us a roadmap for the next 3 years to ensure success of our scholars.
We should periodically look at that, at least annually, sometimes it's easy to do it and then put it to the side.
Happens.
Yeah, but like-
The old one's still online, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is.
I looked at it.
Yeah.
I was confused. I said, well, this is old.
Maybe even the board retreats is a good time to even take a look at that.
And we should, you know what, that's a great idea, just incorporate it into whatever meeting we want to. So we do go and look at it, yeah.
Kind of see where we're at.
We've only had one board retreat so far, but they worked quite well, and we're looking forward to more.
Yes.
And there was food.
Yeah.
I got little Debbie snacks in my office right now. It's good to be considered a retreat if all it needs is
The oatmeal pie?
Oh, yeah, oatmeal cream pie,
We could be there
and
early,
Swiss
not
rolls,
open.
and zebra cake. Come grab
I'm
some.
sorry, that's Melly's telling.
Okay, discussion of AI. I gotta move this sucker along.
I love it. I'll talk all night.
I have just a quick,
Yeah.
question. So,
Yes, ma'am.
so should we plan to be at as many steering committee meetings as we can? Or is this more of a
That is,
invite basis?
so it's not an invite basis. It's open to anyone who wants to come.
Okay.
And so you can decide, and it's not, they are not mutually exclusive, right? So the things that we talk about next week will build upon in May. So you won't have a ton of redundancy if you come to all of them. And at the same time, I recognize that you may not be able to come to all. So there's no expectation that everybody come or that anybody come to all of them or any of them, but they're open to any stakeholder that's a part of Woodland Hills. They'll be in this room and via Zoom. And we just love input.
So do we reach out to community members and staff, or are we just open it up and there could be 100, 200 people there.
Could be, man, if we had 200 people, that would be the dream. Last year, or the last time we did it, we opened it up to anybody that wanted to. I think we had 20.
Okay.
So, I am hopeful for packing the room. I think that would be really, really great. And historically, we haven't had.
How will it be announced? Is it just on the Woodland Hills page or?
So right now, it's just on the Woodland Hills page, and at the end of the week, we'll send out, a school messenger that says, if you're available and would like to take part in the comprehensive planning process, that'll go.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm sorry, I'm just gonna keep going on this.
I love it.
So that'll go to our families that are enrolled in Woodland Hills, correct?
That's correct.
So then for any other potential stakeholders, is there a place where we would usually advertise this?
On the website,
Uh-huh. So like we have, all of our communities generally have like a newsletter. Maybe we could just throw it on the calendar for them. to include
Sure,
in their meetings.
yeah, I don't know how to get to those, but sure.
Well, one of the other things, I'm just gonna jump in and just say, and Dr. Malishna can probably add too, that we work with our community partners that work with us. So we make sure that we start with those internal community partners. And then any other connections, like through our guidance counselor, there's usually other connections that we have outside of the community. Because again, our kids sometimes shadow, our mayor, I mean, all those other people that are usually our superintendent would know. That's who I usually invite as well. So.
Yeah.
Well, to your point, Sarah, I was gonna say for each region, board member could go to the borough meeting.
Yes.
To introduce those.
Mhm,
Because once
absolutely.
we know.
Yeah.
If we have a date, we can go and say, hey, I go to Braddock Hills council
Yep.
meeting
Mhm.
every second Tuesday of the month, and that's something that I can bring to the table. Because I think, just conversation with some folks, we need to, bridge that gap between our councils as well.
Yeah.
I mean, they are stakeholders, and a lot of the discussions that they have at their meetings involve and impact us as well as what we discuss impacts our borough, so why not bridge that gap?
I love
So
that.
that's,
Yeah,
that would be
that's-
something to
love it.
do.
Yes.
Do you know
Right,
when
that's
those
awesome.
council borough meetings
Yeah,
are?
we
If you
absolutely
could
do.
email those to me.
Yeah.
Darnika did invite me to the Churchill one. I did make it to that one. And I
know.
would like to get to those.
Yeah, Mike has the whole schedule.
I know them all.
I'll do.
When I first got on the board, I started the community relations committee, and I used to go to all the borough meetings.
Mhm.
And then about 3 years ago, I kind of backed off. So I know when all the meetings are, we can certainly set that up.
Yeah, maybe when you and I do.
Sure.
Travel around, and then I can jot that down on the list.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And then when I go there, then I can bring it up, those meetings.
And we'll use next week to give us more information about how we want to structure future meetings. So for example, last time we did this, I had separate meetings with teachers that just went out to staff to say like, all right, we're gonna do a staff one that is focused, and staff is always invited. But then we had one that was just what do teachers and guidance counselors and principals want to do. Then we had, I think that was it. We just did a staff and then a public one. But if we have, I mean, to Dr. Malushin's point, if we get lucky and we have 200, 300 people, then we might do one we might do it by school and have, all right, this is the planning meeting for Edgewood, this is the planning meeting for Wilkins. So we'll see what we have. And if we have 10 people that show up, then it might be more of a conversation of how do we get more people involved in our stakeholder planning process.
Very true.
Sometimes what we did too is put them in tables, different, so you might have a board member with a community member, with a parent, the teacher. At some point, like mix them all together as well.
Ready?
Moving on.
Other questions, comments, concerns? All right. The board asked me 2 months ago to put AI and AI tools and what we're doing with AI on the agenda. So I have a standard order to put AI as a conversational piece every other month for development committee. I put AI on the agenda for development committee this month. It's very timely in that I was blessed and lucky enough to go to 2 conferences over the last month. One that was provided through Remake Learning. We did our Moonshot grant. We got our Moonshot grant. And they asked for the writer of each grant to go to South by Southwest EDU in Austin, which was phenomenal. And, just brought back a lot of information. And then, 2 weeks later, was asked to present a poster on our Unified Robotics Program at the SITE conference. That is Society for Informational Technology and Education, which was far more wonky than South by Southwest. It was a whole bunch of school leaders and college educators and researchers in classrooms talking about what our research looks like and what we're discovering. That one was far more my speed because it was a whole lot of data, and that's what I'm all about. Both conferences though had a whole lot of tools for AI and a whole lot of conversation around AI. So I wanted to show off some of those tools. All of these tools have been shared with our principals and our department chairs. And we have had short conversations about them taking some time to just go in and play with them. They have not been shared with every single teacher, and there is no expectation that teachers are using these, nor that we know what potential pitfalls there may be in terms of data release or ensuring that everything is secure. So we have not rolled these out for every teacher to just be using as they are right now. But I am excited to get input and feedback from our principals and our department chairs. The first one is the one that I'm probably most excited about. I've been talking to anybody to listen to about this. It's called teacherserver.com. Anybody can go on teacherserver.com. It is called Teacher Server because it is a server at SFU, Southern Florida University or South Florida University, that houses 1,100 AI platforms designed specifically for education, almost all K-12 education. The fact that it is an independent and individual server means that it is isolated and that they don't share any data. It is not housed by Google or Microsoft or anybody that might share data, and it is completely encapsulated on this one server. And it is amazing. It's what I have up on the screen right here, and I hope to show you some of the examples of what it can do. Ms. Lyons, I saw you.
Yeah, because I have a concern, the state of Florida, they regulate so much of their education, including dismantling DEI, Black history. I want to know, is this impacted? Or are they under the thumb of Governor, what's his name? Big head.
Governor.
Governor.
Yeah.
DeSantis, or I'm just asking because they swept through and they are trying to eliminate the teachings and the learning of Black history. And I want to know.
That is
being impacted by that.
a great question. And so we can just tell, I honestly don't know the answer, because we did not talk about DEI at all when we talked about this. But when we talk about historical era overview generator, if I go in and say, all right, I want 8th grade modern era social changes on the civil rights movement.
Plug in Emmett Till and see what happens.
All right. I can't remember if there are 2 T's or not, but I'm on generator.
Yeah, well. There's two.
So
Thinking.
as it
When
does.
I think of AI, I feel like thinking, they're going to read. Get it out.
So then it gives us a full overview of social changes. It talks about the civil rights movement. It talks about Martin Luther King Jr., Rosa Parks, and Malcolm X. It gives key events. It gives a timeline of events of the civil rights movement. It gives influences and histories. It talks about the interaction between the women's liberation movement and the civil rights movement. And in theory, and it gives them 3 resources that are recommended. So my assumption would be based on that it has not been whitewashed or clean swept through Ron DeSantis's actions, but that is again.
I would just ask to keep a watchful eye for
For
that.
sure.
If they're targeted to remove any references to like history, like Rosewood.
Yep.
That occurred down in Florida,
Yeah.
other,
That's the reason I asked for Emmett Till, because they'll gloss over, oh yeah, Rosa Parks, but
Yeah.
narrowing it down to individuals
yeah.
is getting washed out.
Well, I mean,
For sure.
it looks like it'd be very useful, but I just am concerned about that.
No, it's a valid concern, absolutely, 100%. Other things that I'm excited about from this particular tool, there's a lesson plan generator through which you can differentiate lesson plans by grade level and by the ability of the scholars in your classroom. Every tool has then an ELL component for how you can utilize this in an ELL classroom. For educators, there's an essay evaluator, there are curriculum quiz makers, there's rubric generators, and then you have, each department has separate tools in it. So you see there's 215 science tools. So the other day I built a tool, or I built a lesson plan and then a full unit plan on teaching mitosis and meiosis in a 7th grade science classroom with kids that were on a 3rd grade reading level, 5th grade reading level, 7th grade and 9th grade reading level, with an ultimate endings assessment, formative assessment of baking. And within a matter of 30 seconds, I had a full-on unit plan with daily lessons for differentiated groups, teaching mitosis and meiosis, that ended with everyone baking a cake based on the parts of the cell. So what I would spend, what in 2002, I spent 5 or 6 hours on a Sunday afternoon trying to cram it all in, our educators can now do in a matter of minutes. And then obviously AI is not a human being. They need to go through and check it over. They need to go through and make sure that they've added their own flavor and tweaked anything that they feel that is not linked to their standards directly. But that's the other thing that I love about these tools, is that you can say, use Pennsylvania Department of Education standards as you create this unit or this lesson or this survey or this quiz. So it's really, really great tools. And then you'll see there are tools for leadership. So you can talk about an educational policy brief generator. So if I wanted to create an educational policy brief on DEI in schools, I could come here and have the initial outline for what I wanted to say created for me, and then I could go in and tweak it to be my own throughout that. And then as a parent, I love the idea that there are 102 resources all housed on the server for parents, for homework help, for creating additional worksheets if my child needs additional help with their multiplication tables, a math skills booster, a teach at home guide. If there's something that I don't understand, but I need a guide to help me to teach it, I can use a teach at home guide. And all of this is completely free. So it can be an extremely useful tool. Again, we don't know everything about it, so we're still exploring it. We have not rolled it out widely to say, please use it. But it is something that I saw and that I was really excited about. And I'm happy to share all of these tools with the board, anybody that wants to see them and or talk about them more. Another thing that I was very excited about was University of Rochester presented this Padlet that they've created, which is a mixture of different tools and resources from other universities. So like this is the University of Maine, this is the University of MIT, with what those universities are creating in terms of AI for education. And so you can click on any piece of the Padlet and you can get more information about which AI platforms and resources are being created at those universities, including this full AI list that comes from AI Exploria. So if an educator wants to use AI in their classroom, but they're not sure exactly how, they can go into this AI Exploria list and they can say, all right, I want to create images. So here are the top 10 image creating AI platforms out there. Here are the top 10 writing platforms out there. One thing that our educators are very excited about, that I'm excited about as well, is here are the top 10 AI detection platforms out there. So for those that don't know, Zero GPT is the equivalent of Chat GPT, but for anti-plagiarism. So I can enter a child's essay into zero GPT and it will give me the percentage of that essay that was written by AI. So as an educator, if I question whether or not Greg wrote his essay, I can put it into zero GPT and it can say, yep, no, Greg definitely just used Chat GPT to write this, or Bard or any of the AI tools. Or it can say, no, this looks like it was uniquely developed. And you can do that with different levels of essays. You can say this was supposed to have been written by a 5th grade student, whatever it is. And zero GPT will tell you the probability there, which of course, as with all plagiarism tools, is not the end all be all. It does not tell you 100% this was or this wasn't, but it gives you more information as you begin to have those conversations. So
As opposed to the olden days when 10 kids wrote Futuristic American Society, and then you know that those 10 had not actually read Fahrenheit 451.
right, that's exactly right. And so I tested it really quickly. I had ChatGPT type me up an essay, and then I put in an essay that I know my daughter wrote as an application to a writing camp this summer. And it told me this one was definitely written by AI and hers was definitely uniquely created. It was really mind-boggling the way that it was able to do that. So my educators are very excited.
There is a,
What is that one?
Is
called?
it?
So it's, this whole list is AI Exploria. And I can just send you these
Okay.
two, Dr.
Yeah.
Thomas.
That would be good.
I'm on teacherserver.com.
Yeah,
They do have a climate change impact predictor.
look at there.
No, they have a climate change impact predictor on the teacherserver.com, which, because Florida's probably gonna be underwater someday.
They don't have
Not inaccurate. my friend.
So the fact that the climate change is there is a good sign.
So those are really great tools. I will then also name that, some of the sessions that I went to were around how to use AI within new pedagogical models. So I'm gonna get real wonky for about 30 seconds, and I promise I'll break away from it eventually. But there's a model out there, and it's not new. It's from 2012, as you can see from this copyright, but it's one that was new to me. It's the TPAC model, and the TPAC model is technological knowledge, pedagogical knowledge, and content knowledge. And the sweet spot for education is where those three come together. And what research is showing over the last 13 years is that the circle in the Venn diagram for content knowledge is shrinking because we have Google available to us right here in all ways. And so the value of technological knowledge and and pedagogical knowledge is taking more of a priority over that content knowledge that we could just look up whenever we need it. And so that session really built on ways in which you can build the strengths of technological knowledge and pedagogical knowledge with educators, especially using AI. So I was very excited about that. I shared it with my department chairs and my principals when I came back, and we'll continue to look at it. But it's a really, really cool tool. And then with that, there's an entire Google suite of folders on exploring TPAC and using TPAC to ensure scholar success. The last thing that I'll say about AI that really touched me, that I think sums up everything I learned at both conferences, is one of the keynotes at South by Southwest named that with the advent of generational AI, we have to move from a culture in education of asking what are the correct answers to asking what are the correct questions. Because prompt generation and creating the correct prompts to ask the computer is going to be far more valuable 5 years from now and even next year than knowing Planck's constant in the back of your head, which was valuable to me in 1998. So all of that to say, there's a lot going on with AI, and there's a lot that we're trying to get out ahead of. Y'all have heard me talk about Scribo and about the things that we've already done with AI that I'm really excited about. But I think that we're at a place now where we can take it to the next level and shift into the high gear. So.
So like, I can say, so like for me, I can tell everybody, you can use ChatGPT to say, act as a nutritionist, create a 7-day plan with 3 meals and 2 snacks with 1,800 calories, and it'll say, thinking, it'll just pop up. So you can go into these AI tools and even say, like in our company, we can say, act as a developer. It'll say, okay, what do you want me to do? And you'll say, look at this piece of paper, tell me the code, write it, and then, tweak, blah, blah, blah. It'll say thinking, take that paper, looks at it, spits it back out. It says, do you need anything else? Do you need me to correct anything? So it's kind of like you're talking to someone, but you can have that AI, anything, it can be a developer, it can be a dietitian, it can be a doctor at some point, and it'll think in that perspective and then shoot out the information. So like he said, it has to be the right questions and not just saying, what's 2 + 2? That's gonna be too easy. Now it's gonna have to be something more technical and more AI not able to detect type of thing for kids to really start thinking or teaching kids how to use these tools effectively, efficiently, and not rely on like we did with Cliff Notes back in the day or things like that. It's
So,
super cool.
Yep,
I'm getting that, but I think my old fashioned way, you said something about checking, first, like the system can check and see how much is AI versus creative, that the person thought through it. Well, if I'm going to use AI, aren't I going to use the contents of the AI answer? You have to recreate it. Is that what you have to do? Is that, am I
Well,
understanding?
it
Because
depends on what you use this for, right? If I'm creating, so for example, I'm going to Grand Tetons, Yellowstone and Glacier this summer. I'm not worried about whether or not anybody knows that the agenda was created by AI. So I just asked ChatGPT, create me a 14-day agenda with 5 days in one, 3 days in another, 4 days in another, whatever it was. And it created it for me and spit it out. And then I looked at it and there were a couple things I was like, no, I don't want to do that. Yes, I want to do that. But if I were to put that into Zero GPT, it would say 90% of this was created by AI. And I would say, yes, it
So
was, thank God.
I'm saying this in an example for a student.
Yeah,
That's
so
what.
a student then has to go in and make it their own. So they can use it as a foundational tool, but they have to go in and make it their own.
No fifth grader could say, probably.
This-
Okay.
This
Okay,
is
so
what,
that's what it is. So the example that you just showed me, a fifth grader wouldn't write like that.
That's
So
right.
they would have to.
So what I
The
did was,
question's important for saying, I'm a fifth grader, I need to.
That's right.
so what I did was I
Can
went
you
to
get around that?
ChatGPT and said, act as a poet. And it says, sure, we can write a poem about it. And I said, write a poem about Barack Obama. So if that was the fifth grader's poem, obviously they will not say Barack Obama, a legacy of hope. They wouldn't say that. And then it says, from Uncle Ruth, his story road.
Yes.
That's not a
So
fifth,
then
that's
you-
not even.
You
But
can go
then
back
to
and say,
me-
write it in a more simple or
Simpler
elementary
part,
term,
right.
and it
Yeah.
can.
So to me, it's still being written to a level that it should represent who I am,
But
right?
because of the way it's coded, Zero GPT will know, okay, this is similar to some other,
Okay.
because the only way AI learns is by what you put into
Put in
it.
it,
So as much as
exactly.
we putting into it, at some point, Zero GPT is gonna say, huh, those 2 words I've written before. That's
Okay.
AI, oh, that sentence sounds familiar.
Well, I'm gonna go back to the
Never
old-fashioned way and look it up.
somebody's mother is going to say, why can't my kid write like that?
That, I just feel like that's where the
Yeah.
conflict is gonna come.
But number
This is
two,
great for if I was asking it,
Oh, I
because
can-
I should be able to write like that,
The
I
book-
should be able to use those words, but.
the book that I referenced before, Fahrenheit 451. You remember why they burned books in the Futuristic American Society?
Yeah.
Because people, they didn't want to think for themselves.
Mhm.
Books made them think for themselves, and that's, I see this, you don't have to think for yourself. I'll just get something to print it out and that's scary.
That's what I'm saying. Our job now is to then find ways to educate scholars to think for themselves with the tools that they have,
Yeah,
right? And it's the same, when the calculator came out, everybody said,
Right?
nobody's gonna be able to do math anymore.
But they do, I
but
mean, you still do.
I got my
And I think
calculator
about
right here.
even on
but-
Facebook, like every once in a while, I'll go ahead and let AI correct whatever I'm
Yeah.
saying. And I'm like, would I say that? I question, like, is that something I'm comfortable with saying? So you can correct yourself. It's just, I come from an old fashioned world
Well, that-
and I'm worried about right now, just like with cell phones and other internet, social media and stuff, people don't even know how to talk to each other. That's my concern because social skills have been, are being whitewashed so much because of these great inventions and great accesses that they have, but I just don't want it to get so watered down, we can't think for ourselves.
Amen.
Yeah, and we're sending kids to college. We need them to be ready to use the big words on their own without,
And not only college, but they have to go to work
yes.
eventually.
Oh,
They have.
Yeah. To miss- Exactly.
The teachers don't have to do lessons. So I mean, in my company, they have given us a goal of learning AI. And you
Yep.
have to have innovation and things that is cost savings and reduction. So we have a
Yes.
whole platform to learn how to use AI. And we have training. So it tells you that this is what you, how
That's
you're
right.
supposed to say, how you're supposed to use it. So while we can all say, oh, no,
Yes.
we have to realize our kids in 10 years,
Yeah.
this is gonna be
That's
their life. They're gonna have to learn how to code
And I
with
come
AI
from your
robots
company,
and things
so
like
just think
that.
about that.
Okay,
Yeah.
but the
Think
old
about the
school opinion
change,
is that's
because-
fine in 10 years if you're a working person and you need to use that in your job.
Mm.
But until we get you to that point,
Right.
until we get you out of public education, you still need to be able to have these skills on your own.
So
I think what
companies
Eddie's
have
saying
to
is we're
train.
preparing them to
Yeah,
get to,
they
like,
need
we're
to.
not gonna teach them this
About-
book, we're gonna teach them, okay, this is how your
Yeah.
world's gonna be when you get to college. Here's how we're gonna scale you up to use it and think for yourself and not use ChatGPT. You're going to use it, but still use your own mind for research and use it, but still be able to correct it, tailor it to the wording. So we have to show them, yes, use that tool. However, there still has to be a personality of you behind it, because when you get to college, it's gonna be a free for all. If they go to a trade school, it's a free for all. If they go directly into the workforce, like my company, they're gonna say, do you know how to use Copilot? Oh, you do? Okay, do you know how to
That's
use
right.
Java? Okay, cool. They're not gonna ask these other questions that we may have asked. They're gonna just say, oh, you know ChatGPT? Oh, you know Copilot? Oh, you know these other resources and
I
tools?
mean, that might get
We're
you
gonna
in quicker than.
Yeah.
That's, it's
And I
gonna
would
be,
say that.
on my resume, it says, I know how to use the Google Suite and the Microsoft Suite.
I know
And
how to type.
next coach gonna be saying, yeah, I chat GPT. and all that, and Copilot. That's exactly right.
I mean, it has evolved, and I'm just really kidding though, but it has evolved. And I do have reservations about it, but if I had to go back out in the workforce, I gotta know this stuff.
That's right.
And I'm only
Exactly.
testing it on Facebook right now, so it's like, I'm way behind, you know,
Right, put it
but.
this way, ChatGPT or Dewey Decimal System, what do you think people are gonna learn?
Yeah, exactly. Well, and that's
I
the,
use the Dewey Decimal every time I go to the library, I'm using the Dewey Decimal.
the couple of additional.
And I know where every stack is.
Yes.
But you're one of the few. But the couple of additional points I'll make are, we have to recognize, like Ms. Griffin was saying, we gotta recognize that it's here. And we either, one of the other quotes that I took away from a conference was, we either teach our kids to swim in a world of Gen AI, or we watch them drown in a world of Gen AI. And I'm not gonna watch our kids drown. We gotta teach them to swim. We gotta teach them to use the tools that are gonna be there at their fingertips. And then I continue to go back to the analogy of a calculator. I can remember my parents telling me, this teacher wouldn't let me use a calculator. I still had to have a slide rule.
I still have my
In
slide
Oak
rule.
Grove High School, I can't use a slide rule. I'll be real honest, I don't know how to use a slide rule. But I can tell you that when my dad got his first Texas Instrument calculator, as a salesperson, that it changed his life. And then he used that tool forever and ever, and now I just use those calculations in an Excel spreadsheet. And it does 1,000 of them in 2 seconds.
Okay, here we go then. AI is taking thousands and millions of things that other people actually wrote. Our kids should be the people that are the actual writers too.
Yeah, they
They
are.
should be the source. They should not be, we should teach them to be able to be the source, not to look at what other people, yeah, we all do it. I read a whole lot of papers that had a blue click here, right in the middle of it, okay? They're gonna cheat if they can cheat, and we'd want them to be able to say, let me formulate my own thoughts.
Yeah, that's right.
where the books come in.
As
That's
we,
what the
as,
books
that's
say.
right, as we've historically done, it just becomes.
And colleges can't get kids to read a whole book.
We still don't
Okay.
lose that deeper learning, and
Yeah.
how do we transition to not lose that deeper learning?
Yeah.
When
That's
Google
all.
came out, it actually turned out to be a benefit because we learned facts and figures growing up. You know, what years did the World War II start and end? That didn't mean anything, but then it taught us to teach our teachers to, okay, why?
Yes, that's it,
That's
that's it.
That's right.
So we don't make the same,
Right,
unfortunately, we don't make the same mistakes again that we did back
That's
then.
exactly right.
We're not learning from it, but how do we transition and how do we, and thinking about as we move forward, how do we communicate with our parents? That transition, we still want that deeper learning,
Yeah.
but we also can't hold back from this, because I'm like Karen, it's scary, but we also, like you said, we can't.
Yep, yeah. The other thing, just plug that I'll put in for as we continue to explore AI. I can't afford to have instructional coaches in every classroom all day, every day. But I can tell my teachers that as they write a lesson plan, they should run that lesson plan through ChatGPT, and just like Ms. Griffin said, give me feedback as an instructional coach would on this lesson plan, and they can receive instructional coach feedback on every single lesson plan that they do from an AI tool that will help them to be better educators, without us having to find millions upon millions of dollars to hire additional coaches. And so our instructional coaches will never be replaced by AI. I'm not trying to suggest that in any way, but I am trying to say as an educator, if I could have had an instructional coach give me feedback every time I wrote a lesson plan, I would have been a million times better educator. And so I think it's very powerful to do that. So,
And even when it says something out, it might have a sentence that says, you should insert metrics here. You should insert, like, it will tell in places where you have to put information. It won't give you the whole entire thing. It'll say,
that's right.
in this section, you should prioritize and add blah, blah, blah. And in this section, you should add this metric and you should add this goal. So it might give you the whole thing, but like he said, it won't be a complete lesson plan from AI. It'll be 90%, 80%, but you still have to give that 20%. So when we're looking at it later, it's like, okay, it's complete, it's, great. It's kind of a mix of both worlds. So I can see where y'all are getting scared. There's parts of it where it will say, you have to engage,
Yeah.
you have to.
That's all
ask
I'm looking
info,
for.
You have to give.
Thought process.
You won't spit out.
I'm gonna be the bad guy here. This meeting's supposed to be an hour and a half.
I'm sorry.
It's absolutely crucial.
It is.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Belmont.
I wanted to suggest that conversation was excellent. Betty, thank you.
Yeah,
And I think a committee report at the end of agenda next week, like in one or two sentences, summarize what was discussed tonight, because like Jill said, this is kind of terrifying what's coming at us. But if we tell our families that we're addressing this and we're gonna learn as we go, I think that would reassure a lot of people, and also tell other families, and hey, look what Golden Hills is doing. They're dealing with this. So that'd be great. If put the report, maybe Laura, you could read 2 sentences next week.
Okay, or I could ask, no, because then it's wrong again.
You get 3 pages from me.
Well, I still write things on my own. Okay, I will, okay. Now this is, I want to go from the norm, because Mr. Vallis, do you have something to present? Because you have a tight schedule. And I wanted to know if you wanted to skip to safety and security right now, if you have something to present.
No, man.
Okay. Same thing with you?
I have, they had asked me about some updates for
Would you
Schaefer.
like to present that now so you can be on your merry way?
I got some pictures here for, I like to do handouts.
So we're gonna move on to facilities right now.
Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa, and this was the old Schaefer facility, and here, the bottom corner, there's no building.
Oh, yeah.
It's gone. There's just piles of rubble right now, and the staging to do the, topsoil and the grass planting. There's a little bit of asphalt that has to go as well, but it'll be grass right up to the gate entry point. We're leaving the sidewalk along the neighbor's house, and then there's been a path for years that takes you down to Kingsdale. And that's also staying, but it'll be nothing but grass, and we did save a lot of trees as well, as you can see in the drawings here.
Oh. Has our insurance gone down since then?
Yes.
Yeah,
This is cheaper.
other than that, I really didn't have anything.
And you did take a
It's
picture.
a hazard. I want to get
There wasn't- I could-
That's not even a big, I'm just saying it.
Yeah,
Still
well, it
on
was just
the
a
property.
brick, single-story building that was in the shape of like an eight.
Well, that's
That's $1 million question.
the $1 million question about keeping it selling.
You asked us some questions.
They're not.
No, they're 6 different
There's
pictures.
6 different
We keep it or sell it?
That's the question. Okay.
I'd say we're around 85%.
We had been approached to sell it by somebody who wanted to build one way and but they wanted a 5-year tax-free
Yeah,
thing.
was it Nice?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that was.
We've given Nice property for pennies on the dollar in the past.
And I.
And they built $1 million homes.
That's a big builder around here. Somebody approached us a few years ago to buy it, but they were gonna put condos in, and they wanted a big break.
Vince Nice
That's nice, yeah. So,
Corporation. They have Monroeville 1 up by the CVS on 22 there, the big white building.
I want retirement homes,
remember-
I want retirement homes there.
correctly, somebody wanted to turn it into a playground for,
For handicap,
For handicap.
a small parcel, the Churchill
yeah,
Bar.
it's right.
Yeah, there
I
you
just want
go.
to see what it looked like because that's all.
There you go.
It's one there. All right.
A fully accessible playground.
It's a nice
Yeah,
little.
for each and every child
That's right.
of any kind of ability.
That's right.
Churchill Borough actually came to us and asked us about possibly giving them a small piece of that land to develop a park. That's as far as we've been with figuring anything in the future. Short of maybe pre-K and kindergarten with the administration building, that's been brought up.
Okey dokey. Thank you. Now, which brings us, unless special ed, pupil personnel, technology, safety and security, food and service facilities, athletics, community.
Yeah,
If anybody else wants to do it before, yeah, to do, because then we're gonna get to finance, go for it.
Grand opening of the weight room next
Yes,
Tuesday, the
yes,
8th at noon.
And Gronk's gonna be there.
Yeah.
And so they started working on the baseball fields.
Baseball,
18 months.
they want their.
Yeah.
18
the
months.
baseball field is being worked on.
Okay, I was wondering, because like, I knew that.
What? At noon, yeah.
Somewhere else.
Danny, did you say that the baseball field's being worked on?
It started, yeah, things are
Today.
underway. We had
18
boots on the ground today.
Yeah, I
Put a
just
shovel
got
in
the
the ground.
scoop
Boots
on
on
the
the ground?
baseball field this week, guys. Play stuff.
Today?
Yeah.
That's all with the snake. Or that's-
Yeah.
Salamander, yeah.
That's-
Salamanders and goose poop.
Last part of the puzzle is scoping the storm drain and creating a videotape for Churchill Borough that they want. And one more meeting with the conservation district about some random things that are just redundant. There's both, they just go over with the contractor that the contractor's gone over with them before on past projects that they did within Allegheny County.
Fun times.
That's about it, yeah. But there's boots on the ground as of today.
Were we doing the soccer field too, or was it just based
They're
on?
making a soccer and
Okay.
football field within the baseball field and softball field with a retractable fence so that for practices and whatnot, and maybe some rentals or just our extra teams and
Okay.
we have girls like football, they want field, and my soccer field is booked. Probably worse than the Wolverine actually right now.
So that's my son's team. Sorry about that, Dan.
Okay,
Yeah, that's okay.
before we get to school finance. We're so glad you're back.
Can I talk?
Very glad.
Community.
Yeah, does anybody want to talk before we get to school finance and we can make that?
I just want to thank Pedro, gave me a run around first aid, different buildings.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
I only have one question.
Look at some safety stuff.
Oh,
Where are we with the school calendar for next year?
yes.
We in progress, working on it?
Margaret's handling that, she's pretty.
I
We're
think
there.
it's
We're there.
that. I
Yeah.
think it's.
It-
Right,
there.
or you put it
Y'all,
on
y'all are
this
gonna vote
time?
on it this month.
Gotcha.
Okay.
And graduations too.
That's not our,
Yeah.
that's not our available.
Graduations too,
Tuesday.
Thursday.
It probably would be wise if we could just send her one thing that says we're coming to graduation.
I responded to, it, so
Hopefully it's not hot. Like
it was actually, it was very hot.
I'd rather be
Well,
hot
no,
than
my
rain.
daughter graduated in
Rain is terrible.
2003, tsunami.
Sometimes it rains, yeah.
Yeah, so, can I?
Yes, community relations.
Community relations, and I'm sorry, no, I meant to get to you, Mike. I went to the 2005 Youth Climate Summit this past Saturday. I went under for winter justice because I was invited by our dear Avery Thomas, who is our senior, who is our junior volunteer firefighter. And she did a wonderful job. She was fantastic in her presentation for a junior firefighter. And, you know, lifting up Edgewood as a community of having this opportunity for students to become junior firefighters. I met a whole lot of folks, including Sabian.
Siobhan.
So she is working with a company called Highland. And she's involved in electric school buses.
Ooh,
So that's her big deal. And I thought we talked about it at one time.
Is that Siobhan Nicola?
Yes, it is. Very nice. Yeah, everybody knows her but me, but I got to meet her and she was asking where Woodland Hills was with the discussion of electric
Yes, yes.
school buses.
She does.
She used to be the transportation.
Yes, for 10 years, she said, for 10 years. And so I said I'd bring it to the committee meeting to talk about or to stir up that conversation once again, because I thought we had discussed it and it's sort of
So
so on the
it's
wayside.
the transportation, because we don't own the buses, it's the transportation company. For student that they're
Yeah,
applying
but she-
for it, and then we did fill out. Part of their application saying that we were okay if they got the buses to use them. So that's really all of our,
Yeah.
anything that we have to do with it, because we don't own the buses.
Okay, so would the discussion go to whoever's head
I would
of
say-
transportation? And
I
then
would
they
say
get
to first student then.
first
too, yeah.
student?
Yeah, every once in a while I get an email saying, hey,
Is it?
so
Oh.
why
Is
you
it
call it?
it's getting antsy.
Yeah.
Is it okay for, who would reach out to first student about this? Jill would, you would? Okay, so I told her that I would, we'll chop up her name, so I'm not saying it like it's the only time to practice yours. But if that could be a discussion, I told her I would follow up with her because they're in a lot of other school districts. They even have some in Pittsburgh Public Schools where they're able to transport students with special needs and disabilities. And so that their buses are aimed to address children with autism because they're quiet buses. And it gives these children an opportunity to start their school off on a good note. And she was saying her nephew he had to get driven to school because he could not function on a school bus. There was no other alternative because he has autism. And he struggled when he tried to. He wanted to be a big boy and get on, but he couldn't do it. So they had to end up, driving him to school. So that's the main purpose of these electric buses. So I would like to propose that we talk about that.
Even if they can't do all, like, I know sometimes it gets expensive, but I know we switched over to a previous district about 8 years ago, propane on some of the buses.
Yes, well, she said they're getting grants. So that would be, idea for us if we could even get a couple of them. I did ask her, maybe for the board, you can have one for demonstration to bring it to the school and we can ride it and see what it's like.
Bring her to graduation.
That would be nice. I can talk to her and say, bring it for graduation, drive us down.
Yep.
in the electric, to come down on the hill. So just, something that we can address with our special needs.
Who was this student that you mentioned, the junior firefighter?
Her name is Avery Thomas. She was so excited. She's a senior. She is a senior. So she's the second student that I'm going to invite to come with 412 Justice, which is my organization, to go to Harrisburg on May 13th. We were inviting Zach as well, Mr. Busybody, because he's in every time I turn around, there's Zach, he's just today, yes. So I am going to reach out to get them permission if they want to go. Zach sounded like he wanted to go, so did Avery, so.
I would name that Avery really enjoys the ice cream tacos, ice cream nachos, and Dairy Delight. So you wanna
Well,
give Avery a little something, a little extra, just Dairy Delight gift card. That's-
okay.
that's sweet.
Very delightful, so it's awesome.
Sure is.
It's on the other side of the closed bridge, so you have to loop around.
That's right.
But that's it for, I'm trying to think, the student summit, I don't know if we had a chance to talk about that, did we talk about that last time?
You did.
We did, okay.
Brought him a shirt.
Huh?
I brought him a shirt.
Shirt, okay, good.
And here's
And there's
another
your
one that won't fit me, if anybody would like a size. extra large student summit shirt. Oh, maybe I'll try to squeeze into it, but there it is. All right,
But that's all I have, so
thank you.
thank you.
School finance, is there anything you want to tell us, or do you want to?
Well,
Next week.
no, I mean, I'm gonna give you some highlights and none of them are good, so I'll end the meeting with gloom and doom.
Yes.
But didn't you have something good to tell us?
Tell us at the end then.
Yeah, well, but that does have nothing to do with the budget.
Okay, good.
This is the budget. Okay, so, here's our revenue situations. So you need a tax increase of 1.3 mils just to break even to the tax amount that you're getting this year. We cannot lose $2 million in tax revenue. The reason we're losing it is because of that common level ratio that we talked about, down to 54%, and the amount of assessed value that the district has lost because of the common level ratio. So because the taxes went down, the only way to get that money back is to raise the mills back up.
And how, our tax break that we gave the public, was that a half a mil?
It was.
We gave the public, yeah.
So that's, because without that, you're looking at a $2 million loss. The state funds, everybody needs to get on their knees and start praying that we get the $2.1 million that he's saying, because if we don't get that money, now we're at 4 million that we're losing revenue. And then, of course, there's our friend in Washington, DC, that, so Eddie and I actually, and our teams, wasn't us, it's our team, have sat with the federal auditors for the last few days. We passed with flying colors. They said actually today it was the cleanest audit they've ever seen.
Yeah.
Well, every line item matched everything exactly. But they also said that all of their contacts at the federal government having to do with the Department of Education are gone. They have fired everybody. There is nobody working on any of the funding for anything for the Department of Education. And so they are extremely worried about whether we're getting the funding. So what that means for us is the title funding, we pay 20+ people with our title funding. Employees that we will not have the funds to pay these people. And let's also keep in mind that that federal government money is what pays to feed our children for free. So if they cut that program as well, I don't even know what's gonna happen, not just to this district, but to education in general, like. So, yeah, so Eddie and I sort of sat there with our mouths hanging open saying, you mean you don't have anybody? And they said, nobody's answering the phone. They're gone. They fired these people.
Yeah, we're waiting. The previous district, we were waiting for 2 million with a $15 million construction renovation grant with Pittsburgh Public. The day after inauguration, we're counting on this money. All communication stuff.
Yeah, so that's the bad part. And so we do get about $3 million in federal funds. The good news is all the ESSER funds have already been collected, so they can't touch that or take it away. So because the ESSER program is over. But the bad news is moving forward, the cafeteria, the food service funds, and the 3 million that we still count on. We count on. The employees that we pay with that money are your reading specialists, your technology director, technology coaches,
Math interventionists.
the, who else did you just say? The
Instructional
instructional coaches, yes, so all of the support staff that supports our educators comes from that money. Almost every single one of them is paid with that money, so, and then, of course, with the tariffs that he was signing today at 4 o'clock, who knows what the cost of everything is going to. So my budget is based on life as we know it, but who knows what that's gonna look like as we move forward. If who knows what the price of milk and everything is gonna be in the cafeterias and just everything. So, the whole thing is a worry. The revenue stream is a worry on the local, state and federal platform. So, so that's that. But, and we currently are looking at all of the staff that we have, plus a 10% increase in health insurance. The dollars for retirement are gonna go up because the salaries are going up, but they're also raising it a 1/10%, but you'd be surprised how much money that is in a 10%. So that's the, Social Security staying where it is, but between the healthcare, the salaries and the retirement, everything's going up. The busing went up this year. Actually, it's like a 6, 1/2 dozen of the other. Last year, we did not have enough drivers to get everybody to school and didn't have enough buses and had many, many kids that we couldn't get to school. This year, we had enough drivers, but that adds buses. So the cost of transportation has gone up because now we are actually able to get everybody to school. So like, it's 6, 1/2 dozen of the other. So we're looking at a $2.8 million loss right now. Things to think about. This building we're sitting in, talked about that. We need to really get with Swissvale and raise the rent over there at the West Building because it costs about $110,000 to run the building and we're only bringing 60 in. So we can't pay $50,000 for a building that we're not even using to educate people.
Could we sell?
Well,
I mean, we are using it to house a lot of,
Yeah, what happened?
a lot of material and stuff.
yeah,
We are using it as a warehouse
Could we
storage.
sell it to them and then rent it?
well, that's, so we started out, the whole thing started out, Swissvale was gonna tear down their borough building and build a new one. And they were gonna be in our building a year, that was it, 6 months a year. Well, it's been multiple years now. So their original agreement to pay us $2,500 a month for the first year, and Danny and them were still using it, it didn't seem like a big deal, but now it's turning into a big deal because they're using electricity over there that we never used to use because we use it as storage. So then Myers Transportation came and that helped a little bit because they said, could we use two office spaces and park our buses in the parking lot and we'll pay you the same 30 grand. So at least went up to 60 grand, but then when you look at the bills, it's a little over $100 like that.
Where are you storing in there?
We buy, with Esther's money, we buy a 3-year supply of air filters for every single air handler and unit ventilator in the entire school district. Along with the things that are still in there from when it was a school, desks and whatnot. A lot of the old kitchen equipment, because we always got so much extra money, we had to keep buying new kitchen equipment. We have convection ovens. We have a building worth of stuff that's.
Can we
very
sell
auctionable.
that?
We can auction, we can have an auction, we have to go through, and I've never been through it. It's, the last auction we had was when I first started 25 years ago. With the facilities director Leonard Nowicki that hired me.
Wow. So I did it once, I'm thinking it was at Uniontown. And we made a list of every item, put it out there and people wrote their bid and whoever had the highest bid, they had to then come pick up their item.
We
Like
did have it.
we did it was pretty
People
simple.
never showed up to pick up the stuff they bought. We had it when we still had Eastmont building open.
Yeah,
But now we have things like Venmo where they have to pay up front.
Yeah.
I'm gonna not prolong the conversation, but I am gonna add one more level of complexity in that, much like Swissvale Library, there is confusion over exactly who owns the land that West is on. Because we built a school on that land based on the idea that Swissvale would loan us that land for 99-year lease, as long as they didn't have to give us any money to operate the library. So
this feels like just sticking it to us.
well,
All over the place.
if you asked us to produce a deed for the land upon which West sits now,
We can't.
it would not be something that we could do. Much like if you asked us to produce a deed for the land on which Swissvale Library sits now, it would be a task that we could not accomplish. So just adding to that complexity that land and the land that Swissvale Library sits on are both contentious in terms of ownership. So those are not places where we could just say, we're just gonna sell this. Schaefer land, we own that, we have a deed for that, we could do that. We cannot necessarily do that with those two pieces of property.
The good news is we're about 50 years into that 100-year lease.
Wow.
That is accurate. That's true.
Oh, it's a
44
silver
Something like if we had land,
Cause I think. we
sell
just need
and
to
get a full
rewrite the
building,
lease.
if you need a
Full building. Yeah.
and we just put two.
We could do
full
it one of
buildings
two
up.
ways. We could either charge
Put
them
the-
for.
Store
We
maintenance.
want, everybody, we should all listen to whoever's talking here. How do we go about stuff, about
Okay, so
raising the rent?
Mr. Phillips gonna
I'll
reach
address
out
the Swiss bill
to
fees.
Swissville, and I said they could do it one of two ways. They could either pay us more rent to cover the bills, or they can start paying the utilities
Yeah.
themselves, you know,
And I already talked with Greg, he's the borough manager, and Jill and I are gonna sit down with him and say, hey, here's our situation. What are the options? And he's an easy guy to talk to, and he can go back to his council and figure this stuff out. Part two, Eddie, on the that building was built before the merger. It opened in the seventies, so we didn't actually build that, but confusion on the lease of who owns it along with the library. The good news is this, I feel confident that we are gonna move forward with what's going on with the library. I think Dr. Kate understands issues. So we're gonna keep pushing that ball down the field. So we're not gonna throw our hands up. We're gonna have conversations, and we're gonna get this figured out, because I feel like people are gonna be willing to listen, so.
okay. So that's the two pieces of property, you know, that we've talked about before, the west and then this building. There are, and these are just thoughts that save money. Unfortunately, your biggest way to save money is people. We do have 8 open positions right now. That would, if we could either, and if you cut the positions, they have to stay cut, because that's what happened the last time we cut positions and everybody came and said, oh, we need this, we need this, we need this, and then all of a sudden, here we are. We're back to the same amount of people, and guess what? The budget's up again. So, that needs looked at, but we can't discuss that here, obviously, because it's personnel. So I'm just throwing that out there, that has to be a discussion behind the closed doors, so people don't get hysterical. But so these are our unfunded programs right now, that are not in the budget at this current time, because these are paid through grants that we don't have anymore. Hoop, Scribo.
Sorry.
Thank goodness we got new AI tools.
Yeah. Dion Rawlings, her part of that. I did already cut $150,000 from the Kellington bill. Kellington last year was a $1.1 million. We told them this year, don't go over 900. Next year, they got to bring it down to 750. They just do. Like they just do. Or other options, but it can't remain $900,000. Like we just
Just
can't.
a question, is Kellington the only security company in, or is there, I say.
They're our third in the last 4
Or
years.
is there an opportunity for us to do an RFP to see if there is better cost saving and opportunities for
So
security?
we did one 2022, I want to say, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And they were the cheapest at the time. We did get 5, I think. We just uploaded these to the federal monitor because you wanted to see them. I think we got 5 companies at that time. And we've used, was Pal America one,
And Pal America was one, and then who was
and
before?
Diamond, something.
Diamond, yes.
Dynasty,
That's-
Dynasty.
Dynasty.
Okay.
That dynasty hasn't been dissolved.
Okay. So I was not here for anybody but Kellington. Like I literally started and 2 weeks later, Kellington came in the door, so I couldn't even speak to how the other companies are, but Pager probably did.
So you can't push the 750 now because of the dire straits that we're coming into?
So every week, Pedro, Margaret, and Kyle from Kellington sit and look at every event and say, no, yes, yes, no, yes, no. And cut them down. We are also in the land of the bills should go down because there's no more football, basketball's over. We usually don't have security at track meets or softball games, you know, things like that. But certain things that I think were overkill and I questioned it and said, what is this? This is ridiculous, because when Dr. Castagna was here, he had cut it off, and I think that a little bit of, and I even said it in an email, like he left, and you think you can just roll in there. The 4 people to check bags and go through the metal detectors for the junior musical on Saturday afternoon was absolutely ridiculous, like
At a musical.
ridiculous. Also, I think that we should consider going to a no bag policy. You can't take a bag into the stadium, so, because when I said, why do we have all these people? Oh, because we have to check the bags in a basketball game. Tell them to keep the bag in the car. You need your lip gloss and your phone. Like, that's all you need. Like, so I think we could get creative in saving money by telling people, just don't bring your bag.
We can put I mean, is it on the policy,
Clear bags.
like for the beginning of a game, when it's going on, no bags or
Right, no
clear
bags,
bags?
big sign,
This
no
side,
bags.
follow
No bags.
the actual
Because then
Hartsfield
you just need
policy.
somebody standing there watching them walk through the metal
Yeah,
detector.
yeah.
If they beep, then you pull them aside. But
Which
then we're
if-
not doing this through grandma's purses.
Which if you remember is what we did for the game after Penn Hill,
Right,
for all the
right.
football games after Penn Hill.
So that should be standard. I mean,
Yeah.
do you agree, Pedro? We're not trying to override what,
No, no, no.
our
I feel
ability
that-
to protect
no, at
us.
the
I
end of the day,
agree
all
with that.
all that could be done like.
But there's
Yeah.
there's
It's not
a
hard.
clause in there that if you tell them.
Right.
to
Take care of that.
30 days,
Yeah.
you can-
Quick.
I think there's
Well, it's not
a
allowed to.
clause. I'm pretty sure.
And then if somebody doesn't want to follow.
I think there's.
you're not getting-
I
you're
think
not getting it.
in the last
I can take
one,
it.
up there.
That's how we reduce.
I just think we
You
should
know,
just
I mean-
push the 750.
I was thinking-
I agree with that.
I mean, do you agree?
How many do we
Sharpen the
have?
pencil or
How many
at this point.
do they
because-
employ on an average during the day
What's that, Kelton?
in the building?
17, right?
Yeah, 18, yeah.
Yeah.
So
18, and that.
We've won it every elementary.
Okay.
six
at
at
middle
Dixon and 8 at
school,
the
and
high
school.
8 at the high
that's
school.
seven, that's
Okay.
17. We used to have one here.
Yeah, we don't have one here anymore. That was.
That
was ridiculous.
We pay the insurance too, that's for, like.
That's $262 a week maybe or something like that's their lowest one. The other ones are, and I question this one too, the fact that we pay for their administrator, who's never here. And then we pay, now the supervisor is here every day. He is here every day, Kyle, and he also, what Kyle does is if somebody calls off, he goes and takes that spot, so we're not paying overtime for that person. So he is here and moving around and working every day. We also went to the night rover because we used to have a person in every building at night. So we got that this year. And now the night rover goes around. So like if there's like, okay, the night rover came here when Chris did the nighttime
Kindergarten.
registration for kindergarten. So the night rover was assigned here that night. And then if there's a basketball game at Edgewood, the next day they go there, so it's one person instead of 5 people every night. So we did do that, but I do think that they need to sharpen their pencil. We need it.
There's
We need
also
it.
the training piece that's constantly in there. I've never understood what that is.
Now, the training, is that you mean the training for the
I'm
beginning
talking
of
about
the year?
national training.
Yeah, they have to do that, like they,
No, it like is frequently on the invoices.
Yeah.
it is?
Yeah.
I haven't seen it recently, because I look at every invoice too, because, so it goes, they do all this, then the invoice comes to Margaret, then it goes to Pedro, then it comes to me, then it goes back to Margaret, then it goes to Ruth. To look and Margaret checks on them, no, you weren't here, writes down everything and she'll make changes, and so like they are watching it. But I do think that there's some
We'll get
I think it's
more,
like-
we'll get more efficient.
ways,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think it was with the transition
Right,
in the
right.
period that, like, even when I looked at the bill and I said administrator, why are we paying an administrator?
We'll get more
The price of
efficient
that.
right away, I promise you.
I'd like to make a suggestion.
All right.
Pedro, thank you for saying that. In the meantime, I think, if Jill looked at the contract, see how that reads,
Mhm.
and then discuss that.
So I think we
with us.
still have 2 years with them,
Yeah,
but there's probably.
but we can actually put, if we were to, and I wouldn't plan on doing anything for his graduation, right?
Right.
But, I mean, there's really a 30-day clause in there as well. So this is something we had to move on for whatever, I'm just, there's a 30-day clause in there that we have to give.
Well,
we're
we
supposed to-
can't do that now.
No,
We
that's
can't
fine.
do it.
Well, I'm just saying that there are options here and there, just, you know,
Yeah,
obviously after graduation, but.
Yeah, right, but what I'd like to suggest is Sarah's chair of the safety committee, put that item on that committee for discussion and see where everybody's at. We're doing something when school is over.
I think it would be worth, Mrs. Rozuski, you coming and actually meeting these people. Sure. That are the administrators that we never see.
Okay, yeah, for sure.
It's been, it's hard to find decent contractors for this, you go through them, and sometimes you're better off. More, sometimes you get more with less,
Yes, sir.
more effective with less people. You know, whether, and some schools are hire, you know, people need to hire their own.
It does. Now, I knew it was gonna
That's why I
die.
was wondering how.
It does.
Another
No, it's
thing
fine.
that we should see though is we will be able to shift their hours, because right now the teacher's contract says that they don't have to do bag checks. So we're paying these people to come and check the kids' bags and take the cell phones every day. The new contract that starts July 1, the
Yes.
teachers have to do that,
Yeah,
yes.
that's gonna
That
save
could be a
us.
duty. So now, when the teachers are doing this, you don't have to have all the guards there at 7 AM, that then they work till 7 PM and then they have all this overtime. The overtime's crazy.
Yeah, so we'll wrap up this discussion on committee next month.
Yeah.
Back to the.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Okay, so, but that was my list of things. So unfunded, enrollings, unfunded programs right now. One Nation at the middle school, we do not have the funding next year, so that would have to go back into the general fund. HSAO, which is another, family community organization that Pam uses for our families in need. They are also being paid for through a grant and serve Family Links. So these three are the ones I think that are most, they're closest to her heart, that she feels are worth keeping. So I'm just saying, the funding's gone. So, but they
Jill,
are.
sorry,
How many HSO coordinators? do you have?
sorry, Jill, can I speak?
James on.
Yeah.
Oh, is Pam there?
Yeah, I would like, can you all hear me? I would like to honestly,
Can't hear you.
I don't know. Can you hear me?
Sort of.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I would like to, before, because there are other programs, like I do think Hoop is valuable. I mean, honestly, I would like to keep all of our programs if we could. So I don't want to say those are the ones nearest to my heart. I do think all of our programs do they do add value, excuse me, to our students in some capacity. What I would like, excuse me, what I would like to do is I'm going to ask all the providers to send me the data that I asked them to send me. And I would like to make a more informed decision based off of data. HSAO is important, definitely. One Nation is important. I think Hoop is important. I think all of them are important. But what's scary is that we are in the process of losing our Just Discipline program, which was a grant funded program through Pitt. That was extremely valuable to our school. We did move from Family Links to, and I can't think of the name right now, so excuse my brain, to another counseling provider. Carlo, we currently do have Carlo through a grant funded position, but with everything going on with the government, we did get a letter from them saying, things are still moving with Carlo, but if they at any moment cut the grants like they thought they were going to do not too long ago, they're going to have to pull out. So I know with funding, things are a little scary right now, but my biggest fear is, I've spoken to many of you, the students we are getting in our district are 100%, they're very, very needy. And I know we were talking even about security. I urge you all sometimes just maybe work with Dr. Malishnik to come in the buildings to see what's going on. Our students are very needy, and I'm just extremely fearful about losing every program at one time. But I would like to personally collect data
and make an informed decision, on my own about what programs I feel like would be best to keep, and if it's possible to even keep them.
Thank you, Dr. White.
Mhm.
Dr. White, I'm sorry I skipped over you. Is there something you wanted to tell us in regards to special
Um,
finance? Here's what the old hippie is gonna say about finance. Don't sit and wait for it to happen. Write to your Congress people, complain,
yeah,
write to your, it hasn't happened yet. We're anticipating it happening. Right?
it's scary, yeah.
2.6 million.
Yeah, we're still.
Regardless.
Okay.
That's an important thing I think we need to think, although we're hoping for that money, we still got 2 million we have to
Right.
make up
Yeah.
for. We can't
Right.
raise the taxes to cover
Right.
2 and 4,
You
then we're gonna
can't.
be having to lose
This
and
is-
leave the district.
This
so
is
we
even
gotta
raising
go.
taxes to get you to the 2.8,
Yeah.
like, this isn't, and I know that this all sucks. It
It
does,
does.
every single piece of this is terrible, but
We have to face.
this is where we're at.
Everybody's in the same boat. Everybody's in the same boat.
Hang on 1 second.
Yep.
Tanika, were you done?
No, I was gonna say, I think that's just the climate we're in, and, we have to also think, we are updating some of our properties, we're looking at how we can cut costs the best we can, so I don't want anyone to panic or like, oh my gosh, they're gonna call you. We're looking at ideas, because at some point we have to start generating money, we have to get onto the black side, we can't always be in the red every year and stressing everybody off the table, so I think we have to just be mindful that we still have to be, we think of this as a business, and we still have to get out of this hole, because if we're 2 million this year, next year we might be 4 million, then it's gonna be 6, and then we're gonna
Right.
get at some point like, okay. you know
Because,
what, we're-
like this year, if you're
We're too-
2.8 million,
Right,
that's gonna come off the fund balance, it is gonna bring you down to 11. And we don't know where 24-25 is gonna land yet.
Yeah.
So you could already be down to 10, but you have to remember that 2.8 that you're spending in 25-26, you're gonna spend it again in 26-27. You're still not gonna have the money.
exactly.
And then the gap's gonna get bigger, and then you will be gone, your fund balance will be gone in 4 years. It'll be gone.
But that's what,
Go ahead, Tamara.
no, my last thing is, that's why I want us to be mindful that when we bring up the word RFP, we don't want people to get nervous. It is a conversation we have to have when it comes to looking at money and looking at, because I'd rather look at things that don't totally impact students. So just listening to Ms. Dr. White talking about the things that will be cut that are programs that can help kids, then what are some things, and I don't know, I think that's where the departments within the department can say, each department kind of say, here's what we can be willing to give up, so that we can start seeing things that don't directly, again, totally impact our scholars
And,
like.
and they have done that.
And so,
We've done that.
so when I hear Dr. White, I don't know, that, it doesn't
I know.
sound like.
Yeah, I haven't really taken, I would like to, I'm sorry, I haven't really taken a look at, like, I kind of have an idea, but I've been telling just the providers, just as I've talked to them, hey, right now we don't have the funds, but like I said, if I could keep every program, I would, and I understand that, but I haven't really had the opportunity to kind of sit and talk about what we're able to even keep or anticipate to keep. So that's kind of where I'm at with just my department as a whole.
I appreciate the feedback. Danica and Tamara, do you guys have anything else?
No, I just hope that we are,
Tamara?
to look at it and.
Okay, hang on 1 second, Danica. Dr. White, can you, next month, would you be able to, review for us your programs? So we have a clear understanding of who's doing what, because our budget is a series of priorities. And we want to try to figure out where we can put the money where it's going to help the most. Would you be able to do that for us next month?
Yes.
Okay, that would be hugely helpful. Okay, Danica, Finance Committee, anything else?
It has
Rest of
to
the
be,
board,
these
Karen.
things have to be realistic though,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I can't stress enough that you have to be realistic, that you can't keep all the people and all the buses and all of the
We know that.
programs and
We
all
do.
like.
Yep.
And you can only cut certain amounts from, like, the electric bill is still gonna be what it is, and the curriculum, we still have to pay for the math program every year, and so like these are there, like, right?
There's fixed costs.
And the contracts, like the teacher's contract, they're gonna get paid where they get paid.
It's
And,
fixed.
yeah, so like, and after salaries and benefit, and like, we have to pay the 10% for the health insurance, like, and it's killing everybody.
So my.
Karen, go ahead.
Can I have a quick question? So the dismantling of the Department of Education is federal. And I know the thought process that they're putting into this is that everything should move to the state.
Right.
So when we're looking at the budget, and if I'm asking this question incorrectly, you can go to AI and see if it's a better way. I'm gonna do my best to try to ask it without
Yes.
sounding
Well
too
done.
confused. Yeah. Since if it were to be at state level, how many of the programs or budgetary issues are supported by state? Does that sound right?
Yes.
Is that right? So if we were looking at all these programs and additional issues like salary and stuff,
Right.
can we get a breakdown, or is everything
So the
supported
state
by
money-
state
the
and
state
federal
money-
just extra? Cause I know
Certain
when,
pockets of the state money are set in stone, like the social security, you have to spend on that,
Mhm.
retirement, you have to spend on that, transportation, you have to spend on that. The ready to learn, you have to spend in certain categories, and we spend it on our kindergarten kids and to keep teachers in the classroom. Then the basic ed funding is you can spend on anything that you need to. The problem with the federal funds coming through the state is we have no idea what the legislators in the state of Pennsylvania are gonna do with that. It has been rumored that they're gonna give it to the private schools.
oh yeah,
So if it goes to the private schools, we won't get any of it. So that is the big question. If that $2.8 million in title funds goes to the state of Pennsylvania, and then the legislature in Pennsylvania decides to not give it to us, then we're pretty much stuck. They may put it in different pots and say, okay, we're gonna give you this for security. Like, they have to, the fact that they have funded mental health for the last 5 years and now basically are cutting the whole thing off is absurd, but they don't care.
they don't.
They do not care. They do not care.
Melanie or Sarah, do you guys have any other questions for Jill? Sarah?
Good luck,
you have
Jill.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just kind of.
So to sum up,
My
everybody,
stunned face.
Yeah,
Jill, thank you for covering all that.
Yes.
Congratulations on that audit. That's outstanding.
yes.
What I'd like to summarize by saying this, what Jill alluded to initially. Had we not seen our property values de-escalate, the tax increase that we have to do to the index means that's our max. That's just gonna make up the ground that we lost because the assessed values went down.
Right.
That's what's putting us in this hole.
Yeah, it doesn't even give us any extra money.
It doesn't give us any extra money, so that's what makes this is more dire than I've seen in my years on the board, so that's very difficult. Okay, finance is done. Mr. Arthur.
Miss Arthur's thinking you run a good meeting.
Lots of practice.
Well,
Okay, now,
Yeah.
Dr. White, was there anything that you had wanted to add about special ed or no?
Well, we did get the data from, and I can maybe show you all, we did get the data from the 23-24 school year, because, sorry, I know it's in my throat. We did get the data from the 23-24 school year. And our numbers, basically what the data states from the state is they look at how many of our students spend 80% or more in regular ed, how many of our students spend 40% or less pulled out. And our numbers are increasing. Our numbers are increasing with the amount of students that we are currently servicing 80% or more in regular ed. So that's a positive thing. While the numbers might not be moving quickly, you can see that there was definitely a jump, which will eventually, as we continue on that trajectory, we'll start to save more money with, not having as many students being pulled out. We currently are working at the high school level with having our students. Right now, we have students who are pulled out for science and social studies. And when you go and you look at a lot of high schools, most high schools don't typically offer pull out for like science and social studies. So we are working with Dr. Mann and Mr. Greenidge this year for next school year to work to include the majority of our students in the science and social studies class and have our special ed teachers support those students in the regular ed classes. So that's currently coming down the pipes. And then another thing is we were informed that we have $1.6 million in access funds. And that's a testament. Now that those funds were since 2019. However, we have been getting more money back over the last couple years with some of the changes that we made to the access program and the people that we brought on. So those are just some of the updates.
Let me speak to that. First of all, when I got here 3 years ago, we were under an audit on that money and we're told that we were not allowed to pull any of it because they were going to take it back because the information that we sent, we didn't pass the audit. So Val Schaefer was here and said to me, don't touch that money. You can't touch it until they say you can touch it. Okay, so this current year, I am pulling $550,000 actually, like, because you have to wait till you spend it and then you send it and you get reimbursed. So we're taking $550,000 of it for 24-25. And $550,000 of it is in the 25-26 school year, and the rest of it will be spent in 26-27. So that's because we're now allowed to spend it. So it didn't just appear. I've known it was there. I was doing my job, still doing my job. And so that's why we were not allowed to touch that money, because the data, but the data's great now, because the gal we have doing it is amazing. She's really good. So, and that was cleaned up by Miss Silvis when she came here.
Okay, and
That's it for finance.
okay, my computer died and I've been jumping all over the place. Do we have anything else we need to talk about? We've got a tiny human that needs to go home.
Yes, he's ready. He did really good.
Is there anything else we need to talk about?
I would just like to, Mike, I'm looking at your shirt and it's reminding me that I need to ask you, what is the date of the run for grace?
This Saturday.
Saturday.
9 a.m. This high school
Yeah.
race for grace.
What is that?
It's a fundraiser for pediatric brain cancer. The 3 girls in the class of
Race for grace.
started 17 years ago, and it's required.
What part of town?
Norland High School.
Oh, no, I saw.
Anything else?
Just on a positive note, doing the site visits to the buildings, finally got to Wilkins and Turtle Creek. So when you, and I've got to see all the buildings now, but buildings are beautiful. The buildings, I mean, in 5 or 6 school districts I've worked at, especially elementary buildings, I guess because they're former high schools, the facilities are tremendous. Maintenance and custodian has done a great job. I even asked them, if there are any issues with it, and they're all pretty happy with it. You know, but the facilities here are tremendous, K through 12, and I know Edgewood's, you know, Edgewood right now, but it was very impressive to see what they have. You know, and the size of the classroom, the size of the gym, the size of the cafeterias.
I think we take it for granted sometimes until somebody from the outside comes in, looks,
And
and then you go,
that's
wow,
across
just, you know,
most
buildings up.
businesses.
He's like, oh, it's beautiful. I'm like, yeah. Around, I'm like, yeah, I said, hey, make sure, you know, and he's like, man, the cafeteria is so big. He was like a kid. He's up there in the cafeteria looking at the food and stuff.
And the learning in the class, I mean, I got
Yeah.
the two of the buildings walk in, I mean, just
And it was a
Student
surprise, it was kind of a
engagement,
surprise.
the kids in the cafeteria, I mean, it wasn't chaotic.
Right.
It was a good walk. Thank you.
Welcome,
Yeah,
sir.
it's good.
Okay, I can just declare this.
Yeah,
Good night.
But I have map data I was gonna show.